What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Pastor Keenan, the hostess with the mostest, with my sidekick, Nick. Talk to me, Nick.
Hey, if I were doing any better, then, I'd be rich.
Yeah. That's better than sitting there in silence and then like 12 seconds later, me going, Nick, it's your time, Nick. It's your time to shine. Turn on the light. Talk to me, man.
I'm doing better than that, 10th dentist who can't seem to agree with anybody.
There you go, man. I do agree. So, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Everyday Christian, man, where we take the previous week's sermons and we break them down and we try to apply them to your life, or you can try to apply them to your life. All we can do is tell you about it. And then after that, it is your choice as to what you want to do with it. But we're coming off of Holy Week, Nick. We're coming off of Easter Sunday. Hopefully your church or whatever church you go to or went to on Sunday was packed out with people. Hopefully you heard a great message. Hopefully the Spirit of God moved. Hopefully everything was really good. If not, then you should have come to Fruition Church. All right? I mean, that's what I say.
Yeah, shoot, come next week.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Forget them people, man. Come to hear Fruition Church next week and see what we've got in store.
Don't be like, I'd say, God, I wish I actually knew the number, but don't be like, like 65% of the population who doesn't even know who Jesus is after Easter.
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm a holiday Christian.
Oh man, and speaking of that, man, my Facebook was blew up all week long about, it's Holy Week, Holy Monday, this, that, and the other, and then, it was Good Friday and Silent Saturday, and then Resurrection Sunday. Like all these people, it was like posted, and I guarantee you it's Tuesday right now, and I guarantee you that it has slacked off by 77%. You know what I'm saying? Like, now we're back to the original people who used to post about Jesus all the time. They're still posting, but the people who were Christians, like, for last week, only,
where you at, Fox News?
Yeah, they're done, so they're back to just doing, their normal stuff. So, either way, but we had a wonderful Easter service. I'm so thankful, man. Broke another attendance record. We had 105 in the house for us. That's amazing. Beautiful thing there. I did not even know Nick was going to do that. Glad I just hushed up just for a second. But
it's one way to get you to be quiet.
Absolutely right. There you go. But yeah, man, it was a great service, and the Spirit of God fell. The altar was packed out at the end, man, and that's what it's all about. And we talked about God being a waymaker, man. And one thing that I do pride myself on as the church is that we're never going to preach a cliche message. I don't think there's nothing wrong with talking about Jesus and resurrection on Resurrection Sunday. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it, but I feel like that was probably the message 98% of the way, Nick, across America or across the world, maybe. I don't know, but we just go with what God tells us to do, and our message actually came from Exodus 14, and it was called Waymaker, and God took us on a journey, man, and showed us a lot of things through basically two pieces of Scripture. But, we're talking about the exodus of the Israelites coming out of Egypt, out of bondage. And I want to read these two verses to you, and we'll go from there. But Exodus 14, it starts in 13. It says, Moses spoke to the people. Don't be afraid. Stand firm and watch God do his work of salvation for you today. Take a good look at the Egyptians today, for you're never going to see them again. Verse 14, God will fight the battle for you, and you keep your mouths shut. Like Moses just got straight to the point. You keep your mouth shut. So let me preface this real quick. We'll have Nick jump in, tell you a little bit about his point of view. But Moses and Aaron were leading the Israelites out of bondage, out of chains. Man, they've been in shackles for 430 years. They've been in slavery, and Moses had finally set these people free. They were on a journey. They were going to the Promised Land. They were going to Canaan. God had already prepared it for them. But the thing about it is, Nick, is that in this chapter, in these verses right here, we see that the Israelites are pursuing something, but yet they stopped. They were coming to the edge of the Red Sea, and you know what? You can't move forward with something in front of you. And whenever they turned to look back, they saw the Egyptians pursuing them. And anytime you see something coming at you that's greater than you, outnumbers you, stronger than you, whatever adjective or adverb or whatever you want to put in there. So basically, they're going to dominate you basically. And they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They're stuck between dying, by the Egyptians or drowning by the Red Sea. And, they're on the edge of it. And the Bible says that they literally, before verse 13 right here, it's actually verse 12, they start to complain. They start to complain to Moses. You should have left us in Egypt. You should have left us in bondage. You should have left us. Weren't the cemeteries, basically like we're going to make our own graves out here. They're really, really starting to fuss, complain, gripe. They're out of bondage, but now they see the enemy pursuing them. That's a problem. So they start complaining to Moses. And Nick, I want your viewpoint, man. First and foremost about how sometimes I feel like the devil can really start pursuing us. We're following the calling of God. The enemy starts pursuing us, man, and then we get stuck. We get stuck between this rock and a hard place, and we have to make a decision. I talked Sunday about how I feel like we start to complain whenever we look back, because we compare where we are versus where we were. The quickest way to kill joy is comparison. And I think a lot of times, man, because we're not as far along as what we think we should be, because we're experiencing more heartache or hardship as we're journeying. I feel like it's so easy to go back. It's so easy to be comfortable there. So we start to complain a lot. So I want your insight about how, whenever the devil starts chasing us, how it's so easy to complain about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the, we talk about how comfortability, is like the biggest downfall of an everyday Christian, or even the Christians back and all the way in,
absolutely,
or, religious people all the way back in Exodus.
Right.
I think, comparison and complaining and comfortability, the three C's.
Right. Yeah.
The
right.
three C's.
We were struggling with the three P's last week, man. Don't ask us to say the three C's.
Yeah. Right. I know we'll forget it soon, but hopefully you'll be able to, at least it's a podcast, you can rewind it and hear it again.
True statement.
But I think that, we've talked about how dangerous those are to, a Christian's faith, being able to compare ourselves to other people or where we were at before. I think it's really interesting here, and I'm sure you'll touch on it as well, but how Moses tells them to shut their mouth,
right,
or mouths. Because you think about, those times, we've talked about this, I believe it was last week, but, when you're in those quiet moments of life, where all of a sudden everything's kind of flooding over you, you know, the things of the past, the things you've said before, the things you shouldn't have done, the devil really comes at you when you're, facing these moments, these precipices, these jumping off points of faith. I think it's, definitely happened here, because, you probably think of so many times where, you think you hear the voice of God, but then you immediately talk yourself out of it. You're like, oh no, that wasn't God. That was just me. That's something I wanted, or that's something, or maybe it was the devil telling you, oh, that's not what actually he really said.
Right.
I think that's where Moses is trying to get at here is, shutting your mouth. Like, don't talk yourself out of this. Like, what is supposed to happen is going to happen.
Right.
You need to look out here, and see that, what's going to happen is going to happen. Don't look back.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the things in the past. Don't worry about, what you think is going to happen. Don't worry about that comfortability. Just shut up, for a minute and let God do what God's going to do.
Yeah.
I think we as Christians are guilty of, just again, trying to talk ourselves out of blessings sometimes, talking ourselves back into bondage. It happens so many times, if we're struggling with something, whether it be an addiction or, something that happened before in the past that we're afraid of coming back and haunting us or something like that. We're like, oh, I don't deserve this, or, I don't deserve this calling, or that's for somebody else, or, we're so likely to talk ourselves out of so many situations. And I think, that's kind of seen here where Moses is like, shut your mouth and let God do what God's going to do.
Yeah.
I
think we're just chronic complainers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, man, like we complain about everything. We'll complain, like we walk into church and we're supposed to have this, this thankfulness, this spirit of joy and peace whenever we walk in. Like we're supposed to be happy to be there, and like
it's too cold.
Oh man, you knew right where I was going, man. That's how I know that we've now done 16 podcasts together. I think this is 16, but I think this is like, honestly, like we'll walk in, it's too cold, it's too hot, it is burning up in here. Anybody vacuuming these floors today? Well, you know what? Somebody left the heat on in the bathroom. On the toilet's clogged.
Keenan's too loud. Can you
yeah, right. Keenan is yelling in the mic. I don't know really what's going on with that whole thing. Hey, you got some words misspelled up on the slides up there. The kids are being too loud over in class. Like we are chronic complainers, man, about everything. And I think honestly, like you said, sometimes we can talk ourselves out of blessings, but I think sometimes too, like we complain because we compare. It wasn't cold in here last week, but it's cold in here this week. Well, you're complaining. You're complaining because you're comparing. My last boyfriend didn't treat me like this. You're complaining because you're comparing. I
think, they get that baby to shut up?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that you complain because you compare. And the Israelites were literally looking back in Egypt, and yes, I mean they got their 3 meals a day. They knew what they were doing every day, but they were so caught up in bondage and the mindset of it that they didn't understand that freedom comes with the price. Freedom comes with the cost. It's going to take some uncomfortableness on your end to be able to experience freedom.
Yeah, like a relationship with God isn't even supposed to be comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
To, put you in uncomfortable situations,
yeah.
get you to do uncomfortable things and say uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I was thinking about, as we were talking there, is that baby in the back of the church who's crying, and you're like, can't they just shut up? But then you're like, all right, would you rather have that baby crying in service or have that parent who needs to hear the word of God be there?
Right.
We start complaining so much that
we miss the point.
Exactly. We miss the whole point.
Yeah.
We try to take away someone else's blessing from the service.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to hear the baby crying.
Right. And that's true, man. And and I read somewhere the other day where it was talking about, it was talking about how churches, man, without any crying babies in them, is basically a dying church. And those mamas, those daddies, those kids that are even in the service, they need to hear the word of God. They need to be blessed. They need to be in the middle of that situation. So I think it's easy for us to complain. I think it's easy for us to compare. I think it's easy for us to get lost in it and go, you know what, man, I'm not as far as what I want to be or where I need to be, so I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to turn around. I'm just going to go back. I'm just done. I'm just done. But in this moment, Nick, they were scared. They were scared because the Israelites were going to kill, or not the Israelites, the Egyptians were going to kill them. That's what they came to do. They were going to kill them. Well, again, you have a choice. Do you die or do you drown? I mean, either way is death. It's just you choose. Which way do you want to do? Or, here's the thing about it, here's what we're going to really unveil right here, is the fact of that Moses brought this out, and he said, you know what? God will fight your battle for you. I mean, I told people Sunday, I love this verse so much, I even got it put on the back of my Nikes one time, just to understand, just to get people to understand. Exodus 14:14, God will fight the battle for you. All you got to do, just stand still, keep your mouth shut. Just stand still, keep your mouth shut. Don't be speaking negativity. Don't be speaking craziness, not like craziness like in a good way, but craziness in a bad, like they're just going to come up and kill us. If you start speaking negative things like that, if you start believing negative things like that, they probably going to break up with me next week. Well, they probably will. They going to fire me next week. They probably will. You start speaking negative, you're going to see negative things happen.
It's called a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely.
In psychological terms.
Yeah, exactly. You speak it, man. And that's why we are so key on in our church where we say speak it, stay it, see it. We want to speak things that are not as though they were. We want to speak healing and joy and peace and prosperity, promotion. I mean, I'm not turning it into a Joel Osteen, podcast
Better
here
hide
for
the money in the bathroom.
Yeah, I was going to say for 16 seconds, but we want to speak blessings over your life and we want to believe with you for some great things to happen. We want to believe that the best is yet to come. We want to believe that God has more in store. And you don't do that, Nick, by looking back. You do that by looking forward. Well, Keenan, in front of them was the Red Sea. Yes, but if you stand still and trust God, God will make a way where there is no way. Why? Because He is a Waymaker.
Miracle worker.
Light in the darkness, right? Yeah, my God. That is who you are. I ain't got time for all that. Hope I hit you in the feels with it. But nonetheless, yes, God is a way maker. And so he says, God will fight the battle for you, and you keep your mouth shut. So here it is, Nick. I could just think about this for a second, because some people would be like, I need to dance, I need to pray, I need to cry, I need to snot, I need to praise. And Moses was like, I just need you to shut up. I just need you to shut up and stand still. Don't do nothing. Don't do nothing. God will take care of it. And like, I want people to get this. Like, this is not your excuse or your cop out just to not do nothing. But in the moments where you don't know what to do, stand still. And let God do it. Don't just run out. Don't just run out and make a snap decision whenever you don't know what to do. Don't just run out. Oh my God, my boyfriend dumped me. And I don't know why I'm so much on relationships right now.
Don't worry, I got something. I got something in the works. You just keep talking.
All right, man. All right, I'll cue you here in just a second. But like, I don't. Like, oh my God, my boyfriend dumped me. So I'm just going to get on plentyoffish.com tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Christian mingle.
You're Christian, yeah, right, yeah. If it ain't Christian mingle, then it ain't Christian. Like whatever. But anyways, so like you got a date tomorrow. That's a snap decision. You don't even know. Like, you don't even know. God could be preparing the next person for you in this moment. I gotta get on Christian mingle. Or the job. Like, I just got fired today and we'll go get one tomorrow. Like, are you even happy with that job? Do you even know what you're doing? Have you even looked? I think we make so many snap decisions because we're just not ready just to sit and wait and let God work something out, man. Like, because what do we talk about? We live in that microwave generation where it's like I press 1 minute, hit the start button, and bam, I nuked it and it's ready to go. And that's it. And but I got to thinking about microwaving the other day, Nick. And you ever microwaved a hamburger before?
God, no.
Okay, I forgot you were the most pickiest eater in all of the nation. But like, man, I've warmed up those White Castles, like those frozen White Castles. I've warmed those up before. I've warmed like bread stuff up before. Like, the thing about microwaving is that you get it fast, but you lose quality. Man, that could preach right there, guys. Like, you get it fast, but you lose quality, because you can put those White Castles in there, and yes, they're hot, they're piping hot. You get them out, and they're good to go. But what happens is that if you don't eat them in the correct amount of time, that bread begins to harden because you've drawn all the moisture out of it, and so you lose the quality, but you get the quickness, but you lose the quality. And we live in that generation where it's like we want quickness, but not quality. You know what I'm saying? And I should have preached this Sunday. This is pretty good right here, man.
We got something for tomorrow night.
Yeah, exactly. Have you got something here in just a second? Because I'm about to cue you. But I think we lose quality because we want quickness, man, and that's not the way God does it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know why I'm bringing so many psychological terms in here tonight, but I know another thing I learned in college. I was doing a learning behavior class.
Should I lay on the couch while you talk like this?
Yeah, should I listen to your problems and then talk? No, but there was something I was learning in a learning and behavior class about, like a reward system. It's called Sooner, Smaller, Longer, Larger, something like that. Basically, we're so quick to get those rewards that come quick, but they're smaller, they're not as meaningful.
Yeah.
But if we were more willing to wait, then our reward or blessing is going to be bigger in the long run there. I think they played it out by like, hey, if they took a little kid, put him in a room, it's like, hey, if you can have this one marshmallow now, but if you wait 10 minutes, you'll have 2 marshmallows, and how many kids were likely to just grab that first marshmallow and eat it?
And go with it.
Yeah, exactly. The majority of people did. The majority of people did because they want that quick, that soon. That's why people, they'll be playing the slots, the gambling. They want to have that immediate feel that something's going. But I think that's again a huge problem with our generation, not just Christians, but just people in general. Is that we're not willing to wait for anything. That's like one of the biggest kryptonites to a Christian or a human in general. Is waiting. But through the whole conversation, I know you were kind of talking about relationships, and one thing that kind of hit me too, is this whole situation. If you think about an abusive relationship, because I know maybe it's hard for people to imagine an army coming after you versus looking at it out at a sea and not knowing what to do. But if you think about an abusive relationship, if you've ever been in one of those, which I'd say the majority of our listeners probably have at some point or another, but if you've ever been in a relationship like that, it may be more comfortable to go back to them, to look back and be like, all right, I know what to expect with this. It may not be the best, but it's there, it's waiting for me. It's just something that I'm used to. It's called like it's another psychological term, the old sock theory.
Right? Yeah. You'll trade a black eye for a hamburger. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least I got a place to sleep.
At least I got a place to sleep. At least I got somebody who kind of cares about me. Who shows me that physical love every once in a while, you know. But you know, that's that abusive relationship. Again, you know, think about that. You know, with the Israelites here looking back, you know, at Egypt that way. You know, okay, I could go back to them. It sucks, but it's something I know I'm comfortable with. I'm used to it.
So you're saying like Egypt's like an angry baby daddy
exactly,
coming after?
Yeah, 100%.
I feel you, but see, you're putting it in terms where I can get it.
We're getting it. Hopefully, everybody else is too.
Absolutely.
But you know, so you know, we see it that way. But then you know, if you take that moment to like, okay, I'm done. Enough is enough. It's time for me to move on. And so you turn around and you look out at that sea of people. You know, you look out at that sea of, you know, confusion. You don't know what's coming next. You don't know. You know, sometimes maybe we're thinking, you know, I don't know if it's ever going to get better than what I had before in Egypt, or maybe it's not going to be better than that relationship I had before. You know, we get into that habit of lying to ourselves, like we don't deserve better than what we had back there. You know, we don't deserve somebody better, or there's nobody out there better that's going to be, you know, treating us better. You know, we talk about complaining all the time. You know, God forbid, you know, dating is a big way to complain.
Where are we at with relationships tonight, brother? My goodness.
But you know, again, my whole point is here. You know, sometimes it's better to sit there and wait on God. You know, like you said, jumping into like Christian mingle, you're gonna jumping into Tinder or whatever it may be.
Right, baby.
You know, you're gonna get yourself in more trouble. You know, sometimes than if you just sat there and waited on God. You know, and, you know, it's just something that I think we need to, you know, look at it that way. You know, like as a relationship, you know, is it better to turn back around and be back with that abusive ex, or is it better to sit there and wait on God to provide the right person for you? I had a pastor once say something like, you know, God doesn't, sure. Yeah, it wasn't you, but it's okay. You know, they said something like, you know, God doesn't need Christian mingle. Like God knows the person that's going to be meant for you. He doesn't need Christian mingle to introduce you to. If you just are willing to wait, work on yourself, you know, get, you know, concrete in your own foundations, and then God will provide the person for you.
Absolutely.
You know, and don't be trying to rush off and to jump into something with somebody that's not perfect for you, because God, you know, has something planned. But again, it's that waiting, it's that uncertainty that we're looking out into the Red Sea. We don't know what's coming next. We don't know what to expect. And it's scary.
It is scary.
You know, exactly like these, you know, the Israelites felt in that moment. It's scary. We don't know what to do. But God's saying, just wait, you know, wait. Something better is coming. You just have to wait for it.
Yeah, I like too, man, because I thought about this too. Like the Israelites have been in bondage for 400 plus years. So
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, right. So I really think that they wanted it quickly. You know what I mean? Like I think they wanted freedom quickly.
If you've ever been in a relationship with someone who abuses you, you're going to want that freedom, love, that freedom,
right? Quickly, and it's like, so I think that's the reason why, like, you know, that while they were working for it, they were like, my God, like if I got to go through all of this just to get this, like, is it even worth it? You know, like, is it even worth what's about to happen? And so I can kind of see like their mentality, you know, of being a complainer, because that was their mindset, that was their focus. So as the Egyptians were pushing towards them, they start to complain, and Moses was like, you just need to shut up and stand still. God's going to take care of this. Well, how do I know God's going to take care of this? Well, God spoke to me a long time ago. Before I ever got back to you, God spoke to me.
There was a burning bush. It was a whole ordeal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we ain't got time. Like, you need to go back like 3 podcasts to go and listen to that whole situation. But, you know, God had spoke to Moses and said, you know, you're going to lead my people out of bondage, and whenever you do, you're going to come back to this mountain, you're going to celebrate, and that's how people are going to know that it was me. That's how people are going to know. So Moses is like, yo, well, all right, well then he starts praying to God, talking out to God, and God's like, use what I've given you. Use that staff, stretch it out over the water, and the water will part. The water will actually hold back to where you can walk through on dry land. And Nick, I like it because God gave Moses the staff like way back in Exodus, man. This is chapter 14. It makes me wonder what God has given you in previous chapters of your life that it is now time to display at this very moment. You know, like I think we need to start recounting what God has given us. Exactly.
Everything happens for a reason. I know we say that. It's like a cliche thing to say, but there's truth to it.
Yeah.
You know, we see it, you know, here in this situation with Moses and the staff.
Exactly. Like God gave you that staff, like, you know, like back in the early chapters of Exodus for you to display it in chapter 14. You know, God gave you the job you had 5 years ago, and you're like, oh, why am I even here for? Well, you know what? It could be that 7 years that he's going to show you off somehow, some way, way, or he's going to work his glory out through your situation. Like I think we need to recount in previous years of our lives what God has given us to be able to use at this very moment, man. I tell you, there's times and moments, Nick, where I look back and there's been hurt in our journey. There's been pain in our journey. There's been loss in our journey. And those are times and moments where I look back and nobody ever wants to go through that. But to glean from it, to collect from it, and to use it for His glory, I learned so much through those moments. To now to where we are and where we're seeing, I feel as though the hand of God moving in our church and in our ministry like never before. I feel like, these are some of the best times that we've ever been in. I feel like God is doing it so big right now and that He's gelling and meshing everything together in such a way. But I truly think it's that we're understanding and using what He's deposited in us from previous years and previous chapters of our life, and now we're bringing it to the forefront and really holding it over that Red Sea and saying, you know what, God, use this moment to show off your glory. We know that you have something over on the other side. We need to get there. Well, how do we get there? We use what you've already given us. We don't pray for more. We've talked about this before, and I've preached this before. It's not the fact that you need to pray for more. You just need to use what you have, and God will give you more.
Like I said, I've talked about this, I believe, in at least a podcast or two ago, about like...
I talked about it.
No, we both talked about it, no. But, just basically, how I was personally, how I never believed I'd be able to speak in public, I was horrible.
Yeah, you talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. I talked about it. I told you. I know. I have a memory. But, just being able to, seeing that growth, from time to time, like it's something that, working, all my previous jobs before in the past have, gotten me better at incrementally, it just, I was horrible at talking to people, but then I worked a public-facing job where I had to talk to people. It's
right.
like, forced me to learn. I took a public speaking course in college. It also helped me to, learn how to talk in front of groups. And
can you believe it? That was my best grade in college was public speaking.
I could see it.
Yeah, everything else was horrible. It was trash, man. But like public speaking, I was proud. I brought my grade card home. And by the way, I was a horrible college student, but nonetheless, I brought my grade card home, and I showed my mom, and it was like C, D, D, C, whatever, public speaking, 96. Hey. Knocked it out the park, you know what I'm saying? Knocked it out of the park. But anyways, go ahead. But
I just remember, and again, the job I have now where I'm talking in front of, like sometimes 500 kids a week, just being able to, be in that situation to see the growth as it grows exponentially over time, just the blessings that, God put, slowly working on it, slowly but surely, and it's kind of like that trial by fire thing. Sometimes you have to throw yourself into it in order to really kickstart it, in order to
right.
Start that growth as you move forward. And again, there's people out there who experience similar things, or it's different things. Again, but God is basically using everything in the past to build you to where you're supposed to be in the future.
Absolutely, man. So he raises his staff up, and the water begins to part. And this is something that God just. Again, I get it. Like I think every preacher prepares differently for Sunday. I know there's preachers that have 7 pages of notes. I get that. I know that they cross-reference, the study Bible, the Bible, 7 different books, the whole 9 yards. I get that. I'll be honest with you, Nick. Like, I read, I pray, and I'm like, Lord, give it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it, and it is what it is. What I say from that stage comes from God. But one of the things that he really broke off to me on Sunday was that sometimes you have the faith to walk on water, but when you don't, just have the faith to walk through water. And that was so profound to me. Sometimes we do have the faith to walk on water. We are so hyped up for Jesus. We're going to be Peter on crack, on Bible crack. Let's just say
or
that.
Be Sonic the Hedgehog just running the surface of the water.
Exactly. So did you check out Sonic 2? Did
it's
you
amazing,
watch that?
Yeah.
I didn't see Sonic 1, but I enjoyed Sonic 2.
I love both of them.
Okay, so there you go. So go watch Sonic 2 sometime. Shout out. Maybe we'll get a view or something out of that.
Where you at, Sega sponsors?
Yeah, exactly. So, but Peter walked on the water. I was talking about this Sunday, 4.2 seconds, and then he focused on the wind instead of Jesus, started sinking. We're not always called to walk on the water, but hey, you know what? Let's have faith to walk through the water. Anybody can walk through the water because, again, we stood still and God's doing the work. When you walk on water, you're doing the work. You're doing it's your faith that's doing the work of walking on the water. When you walk through the water, God is doing the work. You just have to trust that it's not going to drown you in the process. But I was talking about this, man, that I understand that the walking on water is sometimes an unobtainable faith, I feel like, for people. People, we've talked about this before. People will have the faith to pray for a common cold, but not cancer. People have the faith to pray to get my electric bill turned back on, but not my car paid off. I think we have levels of faith that we feel like that are unobtainable sometimes. But at the same point in time, I want you to understand that God will make a way where there's no way. And he matches, I was talking about this Sunday, he matches the miracle to your faith. Well, the Israelites were just complaining 2 sentences before this. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like they had great faith. It wasn't like that they were, God knew that they didn't have the faith to walk on that water. But God did know that they had enough faith to follow a man out and to walk through the water.
To walk on more land that they've already been walking on.
Absolutely. Man, no. Watch this, man. I'm glad you just said that because it opens my eyes up even more. God led them through on ground because they had always been walking on ground. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of times God will use what you've been used to in order to help deliver you from that. And I said this on Sunday as well. A lot of times what's meant to drown you will actually deliver you from your situation. It will actually help separate you from what's going on in your life. What was meant to drown you will actually help shoot you to your destiny. So they walked through on dry land, and that is fantastic. That is something that we read about this, Nick, and what makes it spiritual to me is the fact of that God parts this water. There's no explanation for it. They have to have the faith to do it. But then, because a lot of people have this, they pick a fight with the Bible because, they're like, oh, you just have to have faith to believe it. But this is an instance where history has even proven, there has been people prove this, that at the bottom of the Red Sea, there's spokes, there's wheels, there's these things, there's armor, there's swords, there's this history is bringing to life what the Bible was talking about. So in this moment, God delivers his people through the very thing that was supposed to drown them, and instead he drowns the enemy. The Bible says that the moment that the last Israelite crossed to the other side, he brought the water down on the Egyptians. Again, bringing to pass what he told the Egyptians in verse 13, where he says, take a good look at them today because you'll never see them again. You'll never see them again. Take a good look today because tomorrow is going to be different. Take a good look because tomorrow is going to be different. I feel that in my spirit. I want you to take a good look at what is happening right now in your life, because if you choose to move forward, if you choose to take one step forward, Nick, I truly think tomorrow is going to be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I definitely think that's something, again, that's for us to do. It just, everybody has such different varying levels of faith, but to be able to step out and to step forward and to make that leap, because
one step,
one step. It's
for mankind.
It's like some of them. How many people that first person who was behind Moses. To watch Moses take that first step, and for that first person to make the first step, and then everybody behind him.
It's a chain reaction.
Okay, let's make those first steps.
Right, it's a chain reaction.
Everybody followed.
Right. It's just like Sunday altar call. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, it's my podcast. No, I'm just what? Yeah, you figure out how to post this next time, then, Keenan. Yeah, it is a group effort. I appreciate him so much. But yeah, I mean, it's like Sunday altar call, man, or like anytime we do an altar call, it's funny because I have the best seat in the house. I tell people this. I get to watch everybody, what they're doing, playing on cell phones, falling asleep, going to the bathroom 17 times, whatever. I get to watch people. But, it's always funny because you see that first person walk to the altar and it sets a chain reaction. Mm-hmm. It's 1, then 2, then 3, then 5, then 6, then 8, and I mean, we've had the altar full where it's like every person in the pews is at the altar. And, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, 100 people at the altar at one time, but I mean, it's an amazing sight. but it started with one person taking that step forward. Go ahead, Nick.
Yep, man, exactly.
I'm not done yet. Hang on just a second. No, just no. Go ahead.
And I think it's just that's what's so important about being a Christian is sometimes you have to be that person who takes the first step and moves forward, and your action could be what saves the life of somebody else or saves somebody else's soul. In those situations, if Moses hadn't had enough faith to step forward, what would happen? If that first person behind him hadn't had the faith to step forward, it's very important to make sure that you again practice your faith, build your faith, grow your faith, and be able to do small things like that. Take that one step. Right. It's sometimes if you think the task ahead of you is too big, break it down into smaller steps. Just take that first step forward.
Right. Lift the staff.
Exactly. Yeah. Lift the staff. Take that first step forward.
Right.
Trust in God that this is the next direction that you're supposed to be taking. And if you've tried, dating this person or dating this person or dating that person.
We're going
to switch it up a little bit. We're going to switch it up a little bit. Or you applied to that job or you applied to this job over here. You applied to that job and you didn't get any of them, or that person didn't like you back. We look at that sometimes as just a defeat. We look and we sit there in the defeat. You're like, why isn't this working out? Why is this not going on? But God has something planned for you. There's another job that eventually you're going to get. Right. There's another relationship that eventually He's going to give to you that it's going to work out better than the ones you could have had before. Yeah, you could have taken those other jobs. You could have taken, He could have given them to you, but they wouldn't have worked out as well as the one He has planned and prepared for you.
Right.
And I think that's just something that we need to, again, take a step back and think about sometimes, when something doesn't work out our way, that, we need to make sure we remember that there is something better out there, planned ahead for us.
Yeah.
It's better not to turn your back around, go back towards Egypt, go back towards that relationship or that job that treated you wrong. Sometimes you have to sit there and wait, and then when it's time, God will open the door, and you take that first step forward. It may seem scary, but you take that first step forward, and then it'll be rewarding in the end for you.
Right, and I like how you broke down faith right there, where it's like sometimes it's just an onslaught of small decisions. Raise the staff, take a step, trust God. He's not asking you to empty the Red Sea with a spoon. He's literally asking you to trust Him and lift a staff. He's not even asking you to touch the water. You know what I'm saying? He's not asking you to move the water. He's asking you to move your feet. You don't have control over the water, but you have control over the feet. You have control over the things in your life, and I think faith is activating what we have control over in our lives. I have control over my mouth, so I'm going to speak faith. Mm-hmm. I have control over my mind, so I'm going to believe faith. I have control over my heart, so I'm not going to let anything bad come from it. I choose to believe faith. I think once we make small decisions to trust in faith about what God's going to do with it, how He's going to use our actions to accomplish great things, then I think that's when we see great things happen. And I honestly think, that's what I truly believe, that the reason why we're seeing so much success right now in the season that we're in is because it's small decisions and actions that to a lot of people might be like, all you did today was raise a staff, and it's like, yeah, but how many people did it set free? Raising a staff is something that I could do, and God took care of the rest. And I think that's what He oftentimes calls us to do, Nick, is to do what we're able to do.
All He did was call you to pay for that person ahead of you in line.
Absolutely.
All He did was call you to make that post on Facebook or share that specific thing or send a message to somebody or call somebody.
Right. And it's so small
things. Yep. Those small things could have had such a huge impact, like a butterfly effect type thing.
Yeah.
That is like, the flap of a butterfly's wings.
Did you bring Ashton Kutcher into this, man?
Maybe Kevin Malone. I think he's the better version of it. But.
Oh man, but yeah, that's just the small things. I don't know. Show up to church. That's small. You know what I'm saying? Tithe. That's small. Sing, clap, dance, worship. Listen to the Word. Read the Bible. Amen. Your preacher. Clap for your preacher. Wow. Oh man, that's so deep. I'm just saying, man, the small things, do what God's called you to do.
And sometimes those small things, it's kind of like a subjective thing. That small thing could be big for somebody.
Absolutely.
Like going to church could be a huge thing for you, but I've seen it before, like somebody will walk into church and like everybody in the church is like, oh my gosh, hi, how you doing? Like haven't seen you in a long time.
Right.
Your small action created a big response.
Absolutely.
I like
same
that. Thing goes.
I like that, man. A small action. How about this? A small action can create a big response from God.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Raising that staff can have a huge reaction.
Absolutely.
Best aquarium in the world, and you just walked right through it.
Absolutely. I mean, you just walked right through it. And you could sell tickets and, make some money and whatever else in the process of it. Maybe throw a line out, catch a fish on the way, have supper that night.
I'm a little hungry. We're walking for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, to see the miracle of what God did through some simple obedience is what it takes. And that's where we see God being a waymaker at. That's what we see God doing on a daily basis is literally, and I said this Sunday, and I'm bringing this thing to a close. But like sometimes I think we need to be thankful, Nick, for the devil pushing us in that direction. We need to be thankful for the devil chasing us because he's chasing us towards God's destiny for our life. He's chasing us towards the edge of the Red Sea to where we're going to have to use faith. He's trying to trip us up. He's trying to chase us down, but at the same point in time, he's pushing us more towards God than what we've ever been in our lives. And I think honestly, and he really broke this down to me, like if the devil is not chasing you, then you're probably walking with him, which is not a good it's not a good situation. It's not a good sign. But I think we need to be thankful tonight for the things in our lives that's pushed us towards God, for the heartaches, for the despair, for the pain, for the anguish, for the things that's happened that that we get angry about sometimes and we don't want to talk about, and we try to push them away, we try to forget about them. I think we need to be thankful for them because they push us towards God's purpose for our lives.
All things work together for our good.
Absolutely, man.
Just like, I don't want to start singing, but the Waymaker song, it says, even when I can't see it, you're working.
Right.
Even when I don't feel it, you're working.
Right.
You never stop. You never stop working. You may feel like everything in the world is going against you. Everything in the world is pushing you down, but God is still good. God is still working. There's still a purpose in your pain.
Right.
I think that's something we lose sight of so many times, and that's why that song is so important, I feel like, to so many people.
Yeah.
Is be able to say that. Now, that's like my favorite part of that whole song. I remember, times when I was in despair, driving home at night and singing that portion of that song louder than some of the rest, just even when I can't see it or even when I can't feel it, you're still working. Just reminding yourself of that sometimes is so important. Like if you're struggling with something, sing that song to yourself, just say, even when you can't see it, even though I can't feel it, God is still working. God still has a plan. There's a purpose in this pain. God is not going to give me more than I can handle. God is going to turn this bad thing into something good later. I just have to hold on, stand still, shut up, wait on God, and let it happen.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So if you take anything out of this at all tonight, we want you to get this. We want you to get, number one, that the enemy is going to push you. Anytime you try to get out of bondage, he's going to pursue you because he wants you back in bondage. Number two, once you get to the edge and it seems like you can't go anywhere, that's where God does his greatest work. And number three is that it takes small, simple acts of obedience from you to see God work in huge responses, as Nick said, in your life. Look back, see what God's given you. God gave Moses a staff. He gave him Aaron whenever he couldn't speak well, and then he said, just be a leader, man. Just lead these people. And small, simple acts like, hey, leading people out of Egypt, taking a step forward, raising a staff, believing in God, created freedom. And it washed away enemies at the same point in time. So, hey, look, the devil's going to chase you. We get that. Number two, again, see what God's given you and then use it. Use simple, small acts of obedience and see what God wants to do in your life because he is the Waymaker. He is the Waymaker. Nick, is there anything you want to say before we cap this thing off tonight, before we tell people about how wonderful they are and how they should tell all their friends in all different 50 states to download this podcast? Is there anything you want to say, man? Countries, whatever, man.
But yeah, and it's just so important. Like I said, the last few weeks, the last few sermons have been very, not hard on me, but they've been very, pertinent to me, like very, important and relevant.
Right.
And I think it's just something, as I'm be able to speak, I guess encouragement to other people, it's encouraging myself as well. But there's so many times, that we're just standing there on the precipice of something, like, waiting for an answer. You feel like you've waited long enough. You feel like, oh, there's got to be a new job coming. There's got to be a new relationship, a new friendship. Something has to give. Like, I'm tired of sitting here in this rut. It's in those moments that we just need to sit there and wait on God. And that is the hardest thing to do, I think, sometimes as a Christian, is just to wait on God.
Number one, man. Number one, I feel like.
Exactly. And it's just like, okay, something's got to give. Something's coming. And it's in those moments that, we need to, praise God, thank God for what He's going to do.
Right.
That's something that Fruition has been so famous for, is that we praise God for what He's going to do.
Absolutely.
Because, we have faith, we have a vision, we have a purpose, that we see is going to come. And so we got to thank God for that. Instead of worrying so much about it, thank God for it.
Right, absolutely.
It's something that, I know I struggle with. So I know there's other people out there who struggle with it as well. And, here we're on that same struggle bus together. That's the whole purpose of this podcast, is to be on the struggle bus together.
I'm on that struggle bus? Are you putting me on? What are you doing? Okay, all right, man. All right.
Hey, we struggle. We had conversations.
Yeah, this is true. This is true, man.
But we struggle. And I just, want to make sure that this podcast is meant to encourage the everyday Christian to give them some ideas, to give them some thoughts, to make them think about things that maybe they hadn't before, to strengthen their faith, to strengthen their resolve, to strengthen their patience, to wait on God. And, again, that's something that, I think this podcast helps us to do. Keenan and I, just as we're doing it ourselves, but everybody who's listening as well, just to be able to strengthen them through the process. Because, like Keenan says, we're not perfect. We all fall short of the glory of God, every single day. So we just want to make sure that everybody out there is encouraged through the podcast and through the different avenues that we have. We have all of our messages up on YouTube, and on, some of the newer ones are up on our website. If you haven't, checked us out before, please do that. We want to make sure you guys, we'd love to be able to go live on YouTube. I know that's one thing that we've kind of let go to the wayside, but we need, I think, 50 subscribers on YouTube to go live, so that way we don't have to sit there and upload it every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, like I said, if you're not subscribed there, please subscribe there. Please download the episodes of the podcast. And also reach out. If you're not a Fruition Church member, we would love to hear, we'd love to hear from you, what you think. We'd love to hear, your thoughts and ideas about it, if we've changed your life in any way, or if we've brought any kind of insight to you. We have our email. It's just attached to our our website there. You can contact us via that. So like I said, just reach out, help somebody out, encourage them, encourage somebody to listen to this. Hopefully they have, about 47 minutes out of their day that they can cut out to listen to it. But, like I said, that's just what we want to make sure, is that you guys are encouraged through this.
So now I can't do any kind of promoting because you've done all the promoting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just ditto. That's my promotion. Just ditto. Do what he said to do. So again, we appreciate you so much. We thank you for tuning in. Like I said, we could be doing anything else, but we want to try to channel every area and every avenue we can to help get the word of God out, to help people. It might not be in a church setting. You might hear this going down the road and, be like, I need to get in church. I need to talk more about Jesus. I need to know about who they're talking about. And that's what we do this for. So like Nick said, you can always reach out to us through email. You can always just reach out to us on Facebook at Fruition Church, just whatever, but we would love to hear again, if this has changed your life, if this has blessed you in any certain way, we would love to hear about it. So you can always do that. But as always, we love you so much. We thank you so much. You can check us out at www.fruitionchurchky.org. That's where it all goes down at. You can always follow us on Facebook at Fruition Church as well. And, listen, we would love to have you. If you're anywhere close to Hodgenville, we would love to have you in service on a Sunday morning, 11:15 a.m., 200 South Lincoln Boulevard. And
if those listeners from like Texas or Oklahoma want to come by, I will pass out there on the floor.
If you show up from Texas through a podcast, Nick will do a dance.
I will fall out in the
He
spirit.
will do a ditty, and he will buy you lunch afterwards. I'm just going to throw that out there too. You know what I'm saying? So
praying to God for some money.
There you go, man. So somebody going to bless you, so you can take somebody out to lunch. There you go, man. Start speaking it. So we love you so much. We thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful week in the name of Jesus, and we'll see you next time.